What is up, my friends, and welcome into the PHOI Phillies podcast. Hope you had an incredible weekend, and welcome back to another work week on this Monday afternoon, a gorgeous day across the Delaware Valley. What's up? Tyler Zulli here. Andrew Frazier with us as well. We'll talk to Bob Cooney at 1:30 this afternoon as well for our first Monday check-in with Bob, our newest addition to the PHOI family. So shout out Bob as he gets underway with all of his work covering the team. You'll see some game recaps, some game previews, series previews, and things like that. Bob is going to do an excellent job. Super excited to talk to him. And by the way, before we get started, just a reminder, this is the first week that we are back to 3 live shows a week. So not just Monday and Friday anymore, but we'll also be back live on Wednesdays as well. And now Mondays are going to be an hour as well. We decided half an hour wasn't enough on Mondays to do a series recap, to talk about all the things that happened over the weekend. We didn't want to leave you hanging with just a half an hour show. Plus, let's be honest. I mean, I go over the half an hour mark every time anyway. We're talking about 36, 42 minutes. And our boss, Vince Pellegrini, was like, you know what? Just go to an hour. You talk for an hour anyway. Just go for an hour. So we're back for an hour on Mondays as well. Big hello to everybody in the chat. Ray, Molly and Barclays Life, Philly sports enjoyer, and everybody else who's hanging with us for this Monday afternoon edition of the PHOI Phillies podcast. Thank you so much for checking in. All right, we've got a lot to get into and that hour to do so. So let's jump right into things. Last night was objectively, without question, the best start of Aaron Nola's season so far. And quite frankly, I don't think it was particularly close. I thought he had a couple of good outings earlier in the year. His last start, I think, was a decent one. And we talked a lot about should the Phillies have sent him back out for the 7th inning? Should Rob Thompson have tried to get an extra inning out of him because of the fact that the bullpen was taxed and it was struggling and he really was trying to get 3 more outs against the Mets in that particular game? And wherever you fall on the aisle of that conversation, that one's behind us at this point now. But I thought he was pretty good in that start through 6 innings, because if you would have said you're done after 90 some odd pitches, you give up 2 earned runs, you battled back, you give up the leadoff home run to Francisco Lindor, you give up the leadoff home run in the second to Jesse Winker, and you escape the potential 5-0 deficit because the ball that Juan Soto obliterated goes foul. And then you end up getting him out, getting a couple of strikeouts, and the rest of the night you were really good. And so I thought the last start against the Mets, sans that 7th inning, which I'll be honest, I think I've been on the record. I said even with the bullpen being as bad as it was, I probably would have called it a night there for Aaron Nola. But hindsight, of course, is 2020. I thought that was his best start of the season up until last night, because last night was objectively the best start of the year. And I think whether you want to do it on what your eyeballs told you, or you want to take a look at the underlying metrics and the numbers, you want to look at the box score, you want to do a combination of all 3, which is what we're about to do, I don't think it's questionable that last night was the best start from Aaron Nola, and it's evident in the fact that even post-game, it's why we used it as the thumbnail headline today. Trea Turner called it Vintage Noles. And what does Vintage Noles mean? Well, I think it's what you saw last night in a couple of different capacities. The first is the command. The command was really, really sharp yesterday. He threw 99 pitches. 73 of those pitches were for strikes. That is by far more than what he's done in most of the other 4 starts or other 5 starts that he's made so far this year. And we've talked about the fact that the command hasn't been good at times, especially early in the count, early in the season. The command was bad against the Cardinals. He walked 4. The command was bad in the previous start before that, and I'm blanking on who it was, but I forget exactly who it was. But he had walked 4 hitters in back-to-back starts, something that he had done like once, I think, in his entire Major League Baseball career. The command had failed him to this point, and we had talked about in the past when the command fails him, that's where the velocity dip becomes a problem because he has to attack back into the zone. He's hanging a lot of pitches. He's falling behind in counts. He's getting in hitters' counts, and they're just teeing up on fastballs, and that's where you see him give up a lot of home runs, is when he's either hanging a breaking ball or they're teeing up on his fastball that doesn't have the velocity that maybe it once did. That's where Aaron Nola has run into trouble this season so far, and it's why he started the year 0-5, and it's why his ERA heading into last night was 6.4, and heading into the Mets start was 6.9. Like, he has struggled, no doubt, this year with his command. I thought last night was by far his best start in terms of his command. He pitched with purpose. There was a reason behind his pitches. And I think he mixed them all really well yesterday. As I said, 73 strikes out of 99, which is, of course, just about 73% of his pitches, which is far beyond what he's been doing for most of his starts. But I thought he mixed his pitches well. He was pitching with a purpose. He didn't fall behind very many hitters. That's something we're going to talk about in a little bit as well. But he threw all 5 of his pitches at least 14 times last night. He threw the knuckle curve the most, but all 5 of his pitches he threw at least 14 times. He generated 59 swings, of which he induced 16 whiffs. To me, last night, the best pitch that he threw was the knuckle curve. And he threw it the most, 28 times of his 99 pitches, he threw the knuckle curve. But he threw that pitch with conviction. That pitch meant something last night. He wasn't using it to get back into counts. He wasn't using it as a backdoor, get me over strike pitch. He was using it to tumble it through the zone. He was using it to set up other pitches. He was using it as an out pitch. And last night, I thought the knuckle curve had more bite to it than what we've seen in the past. It wasn't that like slow, tumbly knuckle curve that we've seen at times this year. It had sharp break to it. It had bite. It had movement. It had, again, I keep using the word purpose, but it had purpose. Last night, that knuckle curve was dancing. And on the 28 pitches that he threw, he got nearly 30% whiff rate on it last night. And not only was he getting a lot of swings and misses on the knuckle curve, but his contact against it was relatively weak as well. The average exit velocity on the knuckle curve last night was 85.3 miles per hour. That's not significant contact. It's pretty weak contact. He was getting a lot of rollover. He was getting some flyouts. Now, we'll talk a little bit later about he got away with some stuff, a couple of pitches that he got away with that were hit hard. But sometimes you need that as a pitcher because it balances out all of the good pitches that you throw. And he threw a lot of really good pitches last night, and I think the knuckle curve was probably the best one. Now, I have 2 graphics here for you. The first one, and I think the most important one, is Aaron Nola's pitch heat map in general. It's all 99 pitches that he threw yesterday. Now, the reason that I show you this is because the thing that jumped out to me in his pitch sequencing yesterday was he did not throw a lot of pitches over the heart of the plate. You see a lot out and in and up to right-handed hitters. You see a lot down and away to both righties and lefties, down in the zone. He missed a lot of bats yesterday, and I don't necessarily mean he missed bats in terms of getting a lot of whiffs. He did get 16 whiffs, but what I mean is he missed the barrel of a lot of bats because of the fact that if you look at what is kind of that nitro zone, there's very few pitches there, if any, quite frankly. He worked down with the knuckle curve a lot. He worked up with the fastball and the cutter, which I thought was better than it had been throughout most of the season so far. But he had all 5 pitches working yesterday, and that's the type of pitcher that Aaron Nola needs to be because of that velocity dip that we talked about. Now, the second one is I isolated just the knuckle curves. And the reason that I isolated just the knuckle curves was because A, it was what I was talking about just a couple seconds ago, and B, it really highlights why it was successful. Almost every single knuckle curve that he threw last night, and there's 28 of them on that graphic, was down, was at least in the lower 3 quadrants of the zone. But you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9 below the zone. And the 3 at the very bottom, you could probably say if you just showed me this graphic that it doesn't necessarily look like a competitive pitch, but all of those pitches ended up being fairly competitive because of the fact that he was locating well and he was getting ahead in the count. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. But the point of the knuckle curve was yesterday, he was throwing that pitch not just for strikes, but he was throwing it to get whiffs. He was throwing it to generate weak contact. And that, to me, was the most important pitch of the night. And so what did he do well with that pitch? Well, this is where the metrics come in because your eyeballs will tell you it danced all night. Your eyeballs are going to tell you I thought he threw 2 bad knuckle curves all night, and one of them it was a long at bat to Michael Busch, and he ended up trying to backdoor a 3-2 curveball that didn't have enough break, and he ends up walking Busch. The other one, I think, ended up getting hit fairly hard. But for the most part, like of 28 knuckle curves, I thought he was really good on like 24, 25, 26 of them. And the one thing that I noticed, and this is where we kind of get into the computer stuff and the more advanced numbers on it, is that he was generating more spin on his knuckle curve than he had throughout most of the season. We're going to get really nerdy for a second. Last night, he averaged 2,585 revolutions on his knuckle curve. That's the spin rate that people talk about. His max was 2,724. Now, his average for the 2025 season is 2,571. So, on average, he was about 14 revolutions or 14 spin rates better than what he's been on the knuckle curve through most of the season. And the max was nearly 200 more. He was generating a lot of fall through the zone. He was generating a lot of that spin rate, which is where you get that tumble nature, right? It's where it starts to vertically drop. And with his knuckle curve, it's where you get that heavy sweeping action at the end. It's not a sweeper, obviously, but you know what I'm saying? Like you get that heavy downward vertical sweep, and that's where he gets a lot of swings and misses. That's where he gets a lot of hitters to top the ball because they're swinging above where the pitch ends up being. It's where he gets a lot of guys to look kind of silly. And so that, to me, was really, really important yesterday because he was able to generate a lot of weak contact off of that knuckle curve. But it wasn't just the knuckle curve that was excellent yesterday. All of his pitches, again, as I said, were working. He threw 14 minimum of every pitch, and the velocity was up across the board. Last night, on his 24 four-seam fastballs, he averaged 91.8, so almost 92, which is up about a half a mile per hour on his season average of 91.3. On his sinkers, he was at 91.3. On his 16 sinkers that he threw, he was at 91.3 miles an hour, which was over a mile per hour different than what he's been. He was about 90.2 on his sinker velocity. And that's important. And again, I've said, like, I think that Aaron Nola can, if he locates well and gets ahead in the count, Aaron Nola can survive velocity dips. But Andrew, there was a comment from Pat Ryan a couple comments ago that I think is important, and it was about the weather. Excuse me, I apologize. It was from Ray Schumacher. Ray says, plus it was like 45 in Chicago yesterday, and we know that Aaron Nola pitches better in warm weather. And so that was encouraging as well, because it does feel like Aaron Nola has run into a string of crap weather starts. Now, it's not an excuse. Got to pitch better, right? Have to pitch better. But the early season struggles, I think he does struggle with cold weather. And the wind was swirling, and it was cold yesterday. And so a night game in April in Chicago becomes difficult for a guy who pitches in warm weather, or better in warm weather, to succeed. So I think that worked for him as well. So to have the velocity up in a cold weather setting, I think is super important. But above everything else, knuckle curve was good, fastball velocity was up, sinker velocity was up, location was up. The most important thing that Aaron Nola did yesterday that he has struggled with throughout the season is that his first pitch strike rate was way up compared to what it's been throughout the course of the year so far. Last night, he threw a first pitch strike. He got ahead 0-1, whether it be via called strike, a swinging strike, or a foul ball, 15 times in the 24 plate appearances that he saw. In the 26 plate appearances that he saw. If you take away the two at-bats that ended after the first pitch because of first pitch contact, and you also take away the walk that he distributed, he ends up at 15 of 23. And that math comes out to be at about 65% first pitch strikes on the non-walk and the two at-bats that ended on the first pitch. He's been averaging about 58% throughout the season so far, which is well below a career low. He's about a 60. Let me go back and find it for you just to be 100% accurate. It's high. He's well into the 60s. Major League Baseball first pitch strike numbers are at about 60% on average throughout the course of Major League Baseball, 61% in fact. Aaron Nola is at 65.6. He's never had a season where he's been below 60. And in fact, he hasn't had a season in almost 6 years where he's been below 63. This year so far, he's at 58.7, and that's after last night, which means his numbers were even lower heading into last night. But he got ahead with 15 first pitch strikes last night. That's significant to me Because that's what we've talked about with Aaron Nola throughout the course of most of the season so far, is when he's falling behind, it's when he's struggling, because then he has to flip the curveball up, then he has to throw that 90 up in the zone. That's where he's giving up a lot of hard contact. That's where he's giving up a lot of home runs. But he was much, much better last night in generating first pitch strikes than he had been at any point in the season. And at one point, to begin the game, he had gotten ahead 0-1 on the first 8 hitters that he saw. Vidal Brujan was the first Cubs hitter to get ahead 1-0 against Aaron Nola last night. And when you do that, you're able to generate weak contact because you're ahead in the count. It's a pitcher's count. You're in favorable settings. You're able to pitch to your strengths, and that's what he did. He ended up giving up more hits on weak contact, 2 at less than 90 miles an hour, than he did on hard contacts, 1 greater than 95 miles an hour. So 2 of the balls that he gave up weak contact on ended up being hits, the 1 single and the 1 double, and he didn't give up a lot of hard contact yesterday that resulted in base hits. And one of the weak contact hits was the double. Probably should have been caught by Johan Rojas. It swirled up in the air. It wasn't a great play. Johan Rojas probably should have caught that ball. And whether you want to argue that he should have or not, the expected batting average on that ball in play was 0-10. It was an 0-10 expected batting average, which means for every 1,000 at-bats that ball gets hit, the expected amount of hits is 10. It's 1 for every 100. Effectively saying that ball has to be caught. The computer says that ball has to be caught, and therefore it wouldn't have been a double on an expected fly ball. 9 of the 17 balls that got put in play last night by the Cubs had expected batting averages of under 200. And like all of these numbers that I've just thrown at you basically tell you exactly what you need to know. Aaron Nola was in control last night. He was sharp, he was poised, he was effective, and he got ahead in a lot of counts. Now, I will say he got away with a couple of pitches last night that did get hit hard, but overall, this was definitively his best performance. There were 6 balls that got hit yesterday by the Cubs that had expected batting averages of over 400. That's to say that the computer expects these balls to find spots more times than not. The Cubs only ended up with 2 hits on those balls. One of them had an 800 expected batting average. It was going to be a base hit. But the point being is, sure, there was some hard contact that Aaron Nola was able to skirt out of, and sometimes you need a little bit of luck in a good start to match your good stuff, to match getting ahead in the count, to match throwing a lot of strikes, to match keeping them off the base paths, to match limiting hard contact. So sometimes you do need a little bit of luck. I think there's luck in every good start. Guy makes a good play, sharp liner hit right at your shortstop instead of over his head. Whatever the case may be, there's always a little bit of tangible luck involved, or intangible luck involved, in the tangible portion of your success. But Aaron Nola, hands down, his best start last night, and it wasn't even particularly close. All right, let's pause for just a moment. On the other side, we're going to tell you a little bit more, or we're going to talk a little bit more through this series. By the way, today's show, as always, is brought to us by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about in the last 40 minutes of the show. Bob Cooney's going to join us in about 10 minutes' time. And we do want to talk about the Phillies taking 2 out of 3 in Wrigley against the Chicago Cubs to bounce back after what was a dreadful series against the New York Mets. But before we do that, let's pause for just a moment and tell you about some of our friends here at PHLY. All right, let's talk about Ace Hardware, because if you're like me, you don't have a lot of skill set when it comes to fixing things, and more times than not, I just end up calling the landlord. But if you need things done the right way for your home, Ace Hardware has the helpful hardware folks that bring that helpful that you expect in the store directly to your front door. So whether it's a leaky pipe or you need your air conditioner fixed, my air conditioner didn't work last week, and thankfully our super was able to come out and get somebody on it. But if we didn't, we were going to end up calling Ace, because they're the folks that are going to give you the exact service that you need to help fix our air conditioner before the summer months roll in. We got a couple 80s this week. It's getting warmer. It's getting nicer, but that comes with needing your AC to be functioning and at full blast and at full capacity as the summer months get closer and closer. But whether it's AC, leaky pipe, HVAC, heating, cooling, whatever the case may be, Ace Hardware has the pros that know how to get the job done, and they're going to do it in a timely fashion. They are the pros that you trust to fix your home and keep it humming all year long. They're bringing helpful home. It's the helpful that you love in the store, now right to your front door. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. Speaking of home additions, I told you about the additions that we made to our bedroom furniture, and that was, of course, with our friends over at Ashley, because the low prices are blooming and you can spring into savings at Ashley today. Save up to 50% off living rooms, bedrooms, and dining rooms, and have it all delivered to you absolutely free. Plus, one of the more important things, getting long-term, no-interest financing to help you spread out those payments, keep your money in check, keep it in your pocket a little bit longer, and not have to worry about the interest accruing on those payments. You can save up on top brands on mattresses and get free free delivery, setup and removal. But don't wait, because you do want to spring into savings before it's too late at Ashley, South Jersey, and Philadelphia. Financing with approved credit, minimum purchase required. Some exclusions do apply. See store for complete details. Hurry to Ashley today. Visit ashleyfurniture.com for more details. All right, welcome back to the PHOI Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. And a big hello to everybody in the chat: K-Red, Pat Ryan, Molly and Barkley's Life, George, Jonathan, Ray Schumacher, everybody that's in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. All right, how about this? George, getting a flight to Philly tomorrow from the UK to watch the next two series, first time at CBP. Well, welcome to Philly, George. I hope you have a great time. The weather looks like it is going to be super cooperative for you. A couple days in the 80s, some beautiful days in the 70s. I hope you have an absolute blast at Citizens Bank Park. Safe travels to you, and please let us know how your adventures at CBP and throughout Philadelphia go. But again, a big hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us. We'll be joined by Bob Cooney in just about 7 or 8 minutes. But before we do that, I want to talk about some other things that happened in the rest of the series for the Phillies to take 2 of 3. Because this could have gotten really bad really quickly. The Phillies get swept out by the Mets, really looked pretty lifeless. Andrew and I talked a lot about that series, whether it was on the post-game show or the in-game show or the pregame that we did leading up to Thursday's game. Andrew, you and I talked about this a lot, how bad the Phillies were in the Mets series. And then on Friday, after the long rain delay, the Phillies lose 4-0 and didn't have a lot of life in that game either.
Nope.
This series could have gotten out of hand quickly, and you could have very easily been looking at 6 of 7 or back-to-back sweeps, having lost 7 consecutive games. This could have gotten out of hand quickly. So kudos to this team for rebounding the way that they did, scoring 10 runs on Saturday and winning in extra innings last night. It doesn't fix everything, but at least it gives you a little bit of hope that, they bounced out of what we saw against the Mets.
Yeah, and not an easy team to beat right now, the Cubs. First place in their division, and really tough. Great hitting, great pitching all around, and to come out of this series winning 2 out of the 3 is really, really good, and it makes you feel like there's a positive upswing with this team, with the Phillies.
Yeah, and you brought up the Cubs offense. We talked a lot about it on the pregame show on Thursday. This team scored coming into the series about 6.7 runs per game. I mean, it was first in baseball by a lot.
Outrageous.
The Yankees were second, and they were like 0.8 of a run per game, which doesn't sound like a lot, but the further you extrapolate it out to 50 games, 80 games, 100 games, it starts to add up. Like, this Cubs team hits, and the Phillies held them to 9 runs across 3 games. And I mean, it doesn't take a mathematician to know that that's 3 runs per game, which is more than half of what they're used to scoring. I got to give credit to the Phillies pitching. I know Taijuan Walker threw a lot of pitches and really had to grind out the innings that he threw on Friday, but Jesus Luzardo was excellent on Saturday, and Aaron Nola was super sharp yesterday. So credit to the Phillies pitching staff for holding this Cubs team to just 9 runs across 3 games.
Yeah, keep it going.
All right, so Saturday, as I mentioned, Jesus Luzardo got the start. Andrew, I have to be honest with you. I expected a good starter when they got Jesus Luzardo. Like, the stuff has always been there, bouncing back from an injury. I expected like a middle-of-the-rotation guy with some upside. This kid's been unbelievable. Unreal how good he's been so far. So he gets another 6 strong innings. The Phillies win another Jesus Luzardo start. He gets 15 whiffs on Saturday, scatters 3 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. His ERA now, Andrew, is 1.73.
Yeah, that's absurd.
It's
That's
the 8th best
crazy.
amongst qualified starters in all of baseball through his first 5 starts as a Philly. He's got 41 strikeouts, which are the 11th most amongst qualified starters. This one, to me, was the one that stood out. Jesus Luzardo gave up a second-inning home run to Keibert Ruiz in his first start back on March 29th when he took on the Nationals. He's made 5 starts since then. He has not given up a home run since that home run. It's a 34 and a third innings pitch stretch without giving up a home run. And he's faced the Dodgers. He's now faced the Cubs. So it's not like, and sure, like he has faced some lesser competition in his starts. Like he did go up against the Marlins, who aren't a very good offense. I believe he pitched against the Rockies. No, excuse me. He pitched against the Braves before the Braves, they were struggling at the time as well. But 7 shutout innings against the Braves, 5 1/3, ends up giving up 3 earned runs against the Giants, but pitched well enough to get or for the Phillies to get the win. Comes back out 7 strong against the Marlins and 1 earned run. No earned runs again in his 3rd win against the Cubs. He's 3-0 in his first 6 starts as a Philly and has given up no more than 8 hits, scattered 8 hits to the Marlins, but only gave up the 2 runs and the 1 earned, and has struck out at least 4 in every start and has struck out 6 or more in 4 of the 6 starts. I can't ask for any more from this guy. I mean, what Jesus Luzardo has come in to do, because the conversation about Luzardo was great stuff, bouncing back from an injury. Can he put it all together after that injury-riddled season? And you know that he throws a lot of pitches to sometimes get you through 5 or 6 innings. He has thrown 568 pitches as a Philly. He's thrown 64% of his pitches for strikes, which I can't ask for much more than that. Last year, obviously, an injury-plagued season. He threw 1,083 pitches all year over the course of 12 starts. He's at 640 already over the course of his first 6. He's been really, really good, and I can't ask for anything more out of a guy who was brought in to maybe be your 4, who's pitching more like a 2. Nearly a 1 whip, a 1.073 whip over his 6 starts so far this year. And there's something called game score on Baseball Reference, where it's a score out of, I think it comes out of 100, but you start with a 50, and you gain points for each out recorded, and 3 points for every inning that you pitch. Now, you lose points for earned runs allowed, for hits allowed, for walks allowed. So, really, 50 is the baseline. He's been over 50 in 5 of his 6 starts. And the one start that he wasn't over 50, he had a 48 on. He's got a 58, a 62, a 61, a 64, and a 79. His average game score so far, according to Baseball Reference, is a 62. So 50 is average. He's 12 points above average over the course of his first 6 starts. I cannot say enough about how good Jesus Luzardo has been through his first 6 starts so far this year. All right, let's pause for just a moment. We're going to take another break. I know it was a quick segment there, but on the other side, we're going to be joined by PHLY.com, Phillies contributor, pre-series previews, post-series recaps. You've heard him on the radio many times. You've heard him throughout read him in his journalism career. Our friend Bob Cooney, will talk with him on the other side. But before we do that, let's pause for just a moment and tell you about some of our friends here at PHLY. All right, our presenting sponsor, our friends over at Bet365. 90 million users can't be wrong, right? That's why that 90 million users have told you that Bet365 is the in-game betting site that you should use. I would not recommend any other betting site, but I would not recommend any other betting site specifically for in-game purposes. They live stream 780,000 events each and every year. They are the pioneers of live in-game betting. Listen, lines change all the time. Your parlay will change with it. Whatever the case may be, to get a little extra juice in the game, you're watching the game on TV, you want to get a live bet in. Maybe your team's struggling early in the game, but you think, I think we're going to end up winning this game. I know they're struggling offensively. Maybe, like last night, your baseball team struggled through the first 6 innings against the Chicago starter, but was able to get to the bullpen in extra innings. You took them on the live line where the lines changed. Maybe you got a little bit extra juice and you ended up winning more money than you would have pregame. That's why they are the pioneers of live in-game betting. And check this out. New customers right now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. So sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit your first $10 and place a bet for just $5, and you'll get $150 back in bonus bets, whether your $5 bets win or lose. So you can use that $150 in bonus bets on things like spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. And that is why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk about the pros. All they do is flooring. Our friends over at Empire Today. Empire is are the pros when it comes to flooring. And just like when your favorite team needs a home court or home field or home ice advantage, talk about having a home floor advantage. Empire is going to be the one to help you with that because they are the flooring experts. That's all they do is flooring. They're dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. Now, you may have tried to buy flooring from your big box store, and maybe you've had a little bit of success, but you've maybe had to talk to somebody who doesn't necessarily work in flooring, isn't an expert in the process of getting your home to look as sharp as it possibly can. That's all Empire does, and that is why I can't recommend them enough. Whether you're looking to put carpet down, tile down, hardwood, whatever the case may be, whatever room you're looking to renovate and restore and make better, Empire is the place to get your flooring. You're going to pick the right flooring in the right color for your space, and you can see how it looks with your furniture in your house. You'll get precise measurements taken and have all of your questions answered so there are no surprises. And with Empire Today, you get clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use the promo code PHLY. One more time, a $350 discount by just using the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. It is brought to us by our friends over at Bet365, Tyler Zulli and Andrew Frazier. And now I am super excited to be joined by our newest addition to the PHLY family, a guy that I have looked up to both personally and professionally for years since our time back in the radio days, our buddy Bob Cooney, who will be making weekly Monday hits with us at 1:30. Bob, what's going on, my friend?
Tyler, how are you, buddy? Everything good?
Everything is great. A series win for the Phillies, take 2 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubs. And so I talked a lot about Aaron Nola in the opening segment today and talked about, I thought the knuckle curve was excellent. I thought he really had all 5 pitches working. So for you, Bob, what stood out to you last night in Aaron Nola's start that was the difference between last night and kind of what we've seen so far throughout the season for him?
So to me, Ty, you mentioned the 5 pitches. I'll go to the 6th sense for me, and that was his head. I thought he was very much in tune with himself in that game. You know, when he got through that first inning real quick, Ty, I turned to my wife and I was like, this is good. Because, you know, I think it was 10, maybe 11 pitches he threw in that first inning. Just very much in command, very much looked like he had confidence. That's not easy. Look, Aaron Nola's been in this league a long time. We know it. We know his numbers. Once he's done, we're going to look at each other and say, wow, he was a lot better than a lot of us gave him credit for. But even though he's been in the league for a long time, Ty, you know, your confidence wavers. I don't care if you're a 13-year veteran or if you're in your first or second year, your confidence is going to waver. And it seemed like that's where he was in his starts that led him to be 0-5. And then last night, to me, there was a confidence level, you know, throwing like, you know, backdoor breaking stuff on a 1-2 pitch and the knuckle curve, as you said, was going well. I really did think as much as his stuff was on, and it was, you're absolutely right. I thought his head was in it as well as it's been all year this year.
I think that one thing that has been evident about Aaron Nola throughout the course of his career is he is a very cool, calm, collected guy on the mound. Not a lot phases him. And Rob Thompson brought it up yesterday after the game in the post-game presser where he basically said the same thing. But I do have to think, as you brought up, an 0-5 start, velocity's down, you're not making your pitches. I do have to think, even for a kind of a grizzled veteran, I guess as Aaron Nola is at this point, at some point you have to start internalizing, is this just who I am now? So to see kind of a vintage Nola start last night, I think was beneficial, not just for us as fans, but for him as a pitcher.
Sure. I mean, our doubt in a pitcher and a player, whether they're most likely veterans, it's probably more than it actually is on that player, right? Aaron Nola's been around for a long, long time. A Trea Turner goes through a slump, and we're like, oh my God, is it over? I think those guys know way more than we do if it is or if it isn't. And Aaron Nola last night proved. I thought ESPN had a really good line when I'm paraphrasing. They said something like, yeah, there's Aaron Nola. He's not gone. He's not lost. That's his stuff. He found it tonight, and perhaps this is the start of something bigger. I think it might be, Ty. I mean, he looked so good and so in command. And the only little, I don't know, drawback that I had was when they showed him in the dugout after he pitched the 7th inning and he's getting the high fives and stuff. I'm waiting for his mouth just to say, can you guys score me some runs, please? Can you please just start hitting the ball when I pitch? Because it just never seems to happen. And it's not a case of, oh, he's going against the other team's number one. That goes out the window after the first week of the season. It's just that the Phillies, for some reason, must have some kind of a mental thing that they don't score well when Aaron Nola pitches. But, yeah, last night to me, Ty, was just a big sigh of relief for him to say, okay, there he is. And that's a good Chicago lineup also.
Do you know what the number is of run support? Because I just looked it up, and I knew it was low. I didn't expect it to be this bad.
Are you talking about for how long?
This season so far.
Oh, man. I think it might be under 2 when we're talking about his innings pitched.
It sure feels that way. It's so it's 2.17.
Okay.
And you're right, Bob. Like, it becomes so difficult over more than a handful of games now to remain in that headspace of, I'll just go out, I'll make my pitches, I'll do what I can do to help this team put him in the best position. Because, like, the guys that are ahead of him in terms of, or below him, I should say, in terms of run support, there's only a handful of guys who have made 5 or 6 starts. There's a couple of guys, there's a couple of guys with 1 or 2, but it's really Nate Eovaldi, who's been excellent but hasn't gotten any run support. Jonathan Cannon, who the White Sox stink, so it's not like he's going to get a ton. And then it's Chris Bassett, who is at exactly 2.17, and Kyle Freeland, who's also there as well. Like, to not get more than 2 runs a game of run support has to be mentally taxing, even for a guy like Nola.
Yeah, and it's not just this year, Ty, right? Hasn't this kind of been the story of his career that – and there is. When it comes to pro sports, I've said this many times, there is mental blockages. There are times when why do the Sixers go 33-2 at home and have a losing record on the road? Why is it that certain players hit better in certain ballparks no matter who they're facing, as opposed to other ballparks, again, no matter who they're facing? It's such, especially baseball, it's such a mental game. And I think last night mentally, Aaron Nola took a huge step into correcting what may have been, a little bit of struggle over those first 5 outings. And we'll see where it goes from here. But as a fan, I know as a follower that you can tell when somebody's feeling good mentally and how much better they are. Nola was that last night.
Yeah, I think one guy that's feeling that way in his first 6 starts is Jesus Luzardo. Who was good again on Saturday. We were just talking a little bit about him right before you came on. Like, I expected him to be good, Bob. He's exceeded my expectations by a lot. He's been great.
He's electric. I mean, it's not like you're watching him and saying, oh, he's getting by with some things. This kid's legit. And the fact that he's a left-hander and does have some experience, it's not like he's coming in raw and you're hoping that he can do it. He has the stuff. And, it has to be pretty beneficial, I would assume, when you're in a rotation that includes a Zach Wheeler, that includes, an Aaron Nolan, who is a veteran that can get it done, a Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez coming back pretty soon. Like, that's got to be a comfort feeling for Luzardo also. So I think you pitch with a little extra ease if you come to a Philadelphia Phillies team that has that rotation that I just said, and a lineup that is more than worthy in not only the National League, but in all of baseball. So, again, the mentality of it. Does he feel just so much more comfortable with this Phillies team that he's going to go out there and be a top-notch pitcher? I don't see anything that says no, Ty.
So let's talk about the top of the 10th, because the Phillies win the game. So I think we can kind of laugh at it now and say they won and they scratched out a couple of runs.
No, I'm not laughing. I know what you're going to bring up, but go ahead.
First of all, what a weird top of the 10th with 3 walks and the sac fly, but we have to talk about it because I was left at a loss. What was that decision to bunt with Johan Rojas?
So I'm sitting in my family room. My wife's in the bedroom, and she came running out because I screamed, "What the bleep was that?" And ESPN was even like, "That's a head scratcher."
Yeah.
He's not going to hit into a double play, most likely. The guy's got so much speed, he's not going to hit into a double play. JT Realmuto third, yeah, that's good speed. That's great. Love all that. And it's more than good speed for a catcher. It's good speed, period. But the guy, and in an earlier at bat, I think it was his previous at bat, couldn't get down 2 bunts. He hasn't been a good bunter since he's been here. Learning a lesson, which is kind of what ESPN went on to say. If Rob Thompson's trying to teach a lesson there in a really tight extra inning game when your team just came off a 5-game losing streak, I don't know if that's the right time either. I didn't get it at all, Ty. I totally agree with you.
And they were talking about it on ESPN, like positioning of the bunt attempt. And it's like one of those nuanced things where if you get too far out in front, you almost look like you're stabbing at it. And you don't want that either. But he's so far off his back foot and so far back in the box when he is trying to offer at the bunt, there's just way too much volatility in his efforts right now. And so you bring up the teaching moment, and it almost feels like if they're winning 10-0 or they're losing 10-0, that's a moment where you do it. At the time, an extra inning game felt like a strange decision. And I said in the post-game wrap-up, like, if they win this, because they win this game, we'll talk about it at a later date. But it could have been a critical, game-changing type of decision.
It absolutely could have. And it just, none of it felt right. Like I said, you're not going to hit into a double. It was first and third, right? It was first and third.
Actually,
wasn't it?
I think the bases may have been.
I thought it was first.
I'll go back and find it, but you may be correct.
Yeah, but whatever. Okay, so my thinking was, like, he's not going to even hit into a double play. Like, there's no chance he's hitting into a double play. He's too fast. And,
you're correct.
And he doesn't hit the
first
ball
and third.
It was first, third, right. So it just didn't make sense. Now, let's go the other way, Ty, because it is, we can laugh that they won the game, and we can look at it this way. If it does work, if he gets the bunt down between pitcher and first baseman and it works and Realmuto scores and he does the job he's supposed to do, does that lesson and him doing that in a key spot, is that a bigger carryover than him not getting it and somebody getting thrown out at home? I don't know. That's what you have to weigh, right?
Sure.
That's probably what manager Rob Thompson and bench coaches and stuff were thinking when they decided to let him do that, to call that for him. So it's like the game inside the game. And I think you and I and probably many, many people that were watching it out there, it is a head scratcher. I'm going to stick with the head scratching. That was just not smart.
All right, so the one thing that I was really happy about in that inning, and it's one thing that we've seen them do a little bit, probably a bit more, but got away from it in the Mets series a little bit, got back to it in the Cubs series. They did it in the Marlins series as well. They've seen more pitches this year so far as a collective unit, outside of probably Alec Bohm, and when Nick Castellanos wants to ambush first pitch, which I have no issue when he does it. But as a team, they've seen about 4.4 pitches per plate appearance, and it helped them in last night's 10th inning because they allowed the Cubs to put themselves in bad spots. Julian Merriweather walked 3 guys, and the Phillies basically said, "We'll take it. We'll just take what you're giving us." And so, to me, even when the results aren't there, and the results have been frustrating, don't get me wrong, that's my one positive that I can take away, is that this team, at least collectively, seems to have a better plate approach for a majority of the season so far. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, and I think I heard a stat, and you probably have this in front of you, that they're fourth in the league maybe in on-base percentage right now. And that lends to the walks. And there was a couple 3-2 pitches last night against bigger hitters like Schwarber and those guys that a lot of times in playoffs and in recent history that we'll see them chase out of the zone. They didn't last night. And that's a good thing. And you're talking about taking pitches. It's great. But then it makes me kind of laugh because when Alec Bohm came up, and bases are loaded, and he hits the sacrifice fly, first pitch, right?
Yep.
But I loved it because he showed, again, confidence there. He took the ball the other way. He stayed with the ball, threw it to right field. Now, if he's hitting the ball to the right side, great. Bases are loaded. Something good is probably going to happen. Hits a ball out close to the warning track, gets a sacrifice fly on a pitch that he knew he could handle.
Yep.
After walking in a previous very patient at bat. I don't know if you remember. He walked and he started tapping himself on the head a little bit like, okay, that was smart. You did a good job there. And then he comes up, swings first pitch, and gets a sacrifice fly. So I kind of do like the approach a little bit better. Does Castellanos make me cringe every once in a while that it's just so known he's going to swing at the first and or second pitch? Absolutely it does. But that's who he is. He's hitting now kind of who he is in the 280s, whatever. You got to wait for Schwarber and for Harper and hopefully Real Muto to get started. But you're seeing some decent things. And one thing I wanted to ask you or kind of bring up to you, Tyler, was Trea Turner's batting average is decent. He's got had 3 hits last night, all that. He's getting a lot of seeing eye, some, infield hits and stuff like that. He's not really driving the ball yet. Do you look at it as he's going to start driving the ball soon and be even more productive, or why isn't he driving the ball anymore? Is this who he is?
Yeah, I think the concern for me is the bat speed has decreased over the last couple of years. He's never been a guy who swing like he's not. You're not going to confuse him for Schwarber or Giancarlo Stanton or any of those guys.
Sure.
But I think the bat speed's gotten worse and worse as the season goes on, and so my worry is he's going to almost have to adjust as a hitter, and whether it's let the ball get deep and take more pitches to right center and right field, or is he backing up further in the plate? Like, one guy that has backed up on the plate this year and has had success is Bryson Stott, another guy who doesn't swing the bat particularly hard. So I wonder if that's the process that he's going to have to take is, do you back up on the plate? Do you let the pitch travel a little bit deeper on you? Because you are going to have to make adjustments as your swing path gets a little bit slower. So to me, I almost view the soft contact base hits do help mentally lead to the harder contact base hits. Because when you say to me, hey man, I found a soft spot, it was a little bleeder, it's a line drive in the book.
Absolutely. And you look at that average at the end of the day and it's creeping towards 290 or 300. Sure, that's great. And you say to yourself, and I'm still not really hitting the ball. It's funny how you look at it one way and I did another, because I was thinking of this during the weekend. I really started wondering at his age, where he is, the season's already started. Can you shorten a swing? Because he still has that huge, long swing, as we all know, that follows through, all the way out. And it's a thing of beauty when it's working. But as you said, the bat speed slows down. That longer swing, that's not going to provide the results that you want. So I'm wondering if Long has talked to him or somebody, or if he's thinking, I got to shorten this swing down. I don't know if you can do it now. It might be a thing for next year and the years to come. But I along with what you said, which is a great idea and probably easier, moving back in a box and all, something sort of maybe kind of has to seem to change with him, right?
I think it's really, really hard to change your swing path in the middle of a season. Like
Sure.
you said, up in the box, back in the box, closer to the plate, further away from the plate, choke up, lighter bat, heavy bat. Like those things you can make the decision on.
Right.
It's really hard to change your swing because there is a real chance that you could screw it up even worse.
Yeah. But the great ones, we talk about 2-strike hitters through the years. They shorten their swing. Think of all the great hitters through the years. That's what they do. And I've often thought of that with Trea Turner, that he doesn't do it. And now, as you said, because that bat speed is getting a little slower, it's hit me more and more this year of, have they tried to implement that during the offseason, that, hey, Trea, you got 2 strikes. Let's try to stop with the big, full, almost golf swing where it's coming from one ear and through the other, and look for that short swing that some of the greats often had with 2 strikes. I don't know. You're if they haven't worked on it, you're right. It's not going to come about right now. It's the other things that may have to switch.
All right, so last thing for you as we turn our attention. No game today, obviously, but previewing the Nationals coming up. No surprise, Bob, that take a guess who's getting the start for the Nationals in Game 1. It's Mackenzie Gore again, because they never miss that guy.
Never. I think Kruk talked about it the last time they faced the Nationals. Like, oh, yeah, here he is again.
This will be his 10th start against the Phillies in 3.5 years, effectively. It's almost impossible to do, but he's become Sandy Alcantara. Like Alcantara for years.
Oh my God!
You saw him every time they played the Marlins. Mackenzie Gore's become the same way for me.
And the Phillies had good success against Alcantara too. That was the amazing thing. He's such a good pitcher, but they had success against him.
So really quickly, and I appreciate you joining us today, Bob. And of course, check out Bob's writing on allphoi.com and on social media and all of that. This Nationals team is kind of scrappy. I think they're not quite ready just yet to be competing with the big boys, but they've become the team that, like, I don't know if you want to play when you need a series win, especially as we get closer to like July and August. They're going to be the team that you go, good pitching. James Wood has been killing it. They've got a nice young core so far. What are your thoughts on this Nationals team? I know we're only 28 games into the season, but what are your thoughts on this Nationals team as we get a little bit deeper into the year?
It's funny. I don't have that feeling that you just kind of laid out. I have it as like all right, Phillies lost 5 in a row. All right, they get a win in Chicago. They get another win in Chicago. Turn the page. Who's the next series? Oh, great. The Nationals are coming in. Like, to me, that's always a 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3 guaranteed series with the Nationals. And again, that's a feeling. I didn't look at matchups, totally for the series or anything yet. I'll get into that tonight when I write some stuff for the website, but I don't know. I just still feel like, yeah, they're coming along. I'm not going to say up and coming. They're coming along, but when it comes to the Phillies, I think for Washington, no matter how they're going, that's a major, major road bump.
Well, and as you brought up, like, it feels that way, right? 54-23 since the start of 2020. Now, granted, Washington's been really bad for a bulk of that, and the Phillies have been primarily good. But that's 31 games over 500 in a 5+ year sample size.
Yeah, to me, that's welcome in, Washington. What can we get you? You need anything nice to drink? Okay, let's knock you off 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3. And I have a feeling with the way this matchup goes, I do like the Phillies to perhaps sweep this thing coming up this early this week.
Well, as you brought up, Bobby, we can check out your writing, which you will drop a preview coming up on allphoi.com. Series previews, series recaps. But more importantly, I'm just super excited to have you part of the team because, as I said in the beginning of the show, enjoy working with you professionally, enjoy working with you more as someone who has become a friend over the last 7 or 8 years since our time at the radio station. So I am very, very excited to have you part of this Phillies coverage team with us this year.
And I'm excited to be there, Ty, and I look forward to talking with you every Monday and all the days in between because your baseball mind, to me, is right up there with anyone in this city, buddy. And I thoroughly mean that. I've watched you grow with this. Your mind, when it comes to sports, I have always loved to listen to. So I'm looking forward to this an awful lot.
Well, I can't thank you enough for that and for taking some time with us today. And as Bob just said, yes, every Monday we will check in with Bob at 1:30. So until that time, I look forward to reading your preview article sometime in the next 24 hours, and we'll catch back up next Monday, Bob.
You got it, buddy. Thanks, Ty.
There he is, Bob Cooney from allphoi.com, a Phillies contributor, series previews and series recaps. And as K-Red points out, Bob's not just good people. Bob's great people. One of my all-time favorite people to work with, as I said, both personally and professionally. All right, we do have to pause before we wrap things up and tell you about some more of our friends here at PHLY. And Andrew, I apologize. That was just horribly done on my end. So thank you for being on top of things. But yes, I told you about Ashley already, but let me tell you about the Ashley Fan Cave Sweepstakes. Listen, imagine your fan cave with a bold new centerpiece, the Mod Max sectional from Ashley. Now think about that. It's great. But now think about getting it for free. So we have teamed up at PHLY here with Ashley to give one lucky winner the chance to bring home this flexible, ultra comfortable sectional Plus, not just the sectional, but a $1,000 gift card to help bring your dream fan cave to life. The Mod Max sectional, it's spacious and it is built for the most comfortable viewing experience in your die-hard fan cave. So whether you're hosting a movie night or you're kicking back with the fam, and most importantly, getting ready for game day with your team, whichever one it may be, or all of your teams for that matter, this sectional will upgrade your space needs. And entering the contest is super easy. All you have to do is head on over to allphoy.com/Ashley to learn more about the contest, see if you're eligible, fill out your info, and that's it. You're in the running. But don't wait. The sweepstakes does not last forever, so you want to get your entry in now so you can be watching the next big game on your brand new sectional with a $1,000 gift card in hand. So again, visit allphoy.com/Ashley for full contest information and eligibility requirement. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, let's talk to you about Timeline. Timeline is one of our newer sponsors, but they have made a huge impact here on us at PHLY. They sell health and longevity supplements that feature incredible ingredients, natural ingredients, and they work with your cells in your body to help reverse age-related decline. You're going to see benefits from strength, energy, endurance. Maybe you're looking for that extra boost in the weight room, or you're thinking about getting back into running, but you don't know where to start to kind of get the kick in the pants that you need. Well, Timeline is going to give you that exact extra boost that you may need. They've done 15 years of research and secured 30 U.S. patents for their products. So listen, the cells in your body, they're like building blocks for life. Now, Timeline is the supplement that works with those cells to help you feel more rejuvenated, feel stronger during your workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. Now, listen, I'm not old. I know that. But what I have said, and it's been true over the last couple of years as I've gotten into my 30s, I'm still able to work out fine. But my recovery times have gotten longer and longer, and I'm a little sore more frequently. Maybe I'm not hitting legs twice a week anymore, and it's maybe more like once every other week at this point. But I need that extra boost when I hit the gym and I'm trying to train hard to stay in great shape. Get in great shape, I should probably say, not stay in great shape. And Timeline has helped me with the recovery process. It's helped me with the lifting process and so many more things. So if you're looking to get ready to be your best, most energized, most revitalized you, I can't recommend Timeline enough. Right now, Timeline is giving you off 10% your order of Mitapure. Head on over to timeline.com/PHLY to get started. That is timeline.com/PHLY to get started. All right, we're just about out of time here for the PHLY Phillies podcast on this beautiful Monday. And I was thinking about hitting the gym, talking about Timeline, thinking about hitting the gym, but I might try to get outside and stretch the legs a little bit, Andrew. It is a beautiful day.
Today's a nice cardio, go outside, take a little hike, take a little run, do a little jog.
Now, I don't know about you. I hate running for running's sake. I know it's important. And I played baseball growing up, played basketball, all of that. Obviously you need to run in those sports. But like the run for running's sake thing, I really, really hate. And so I need some serious motivation if I'm going to go outside and just run. This might be doing it.
Yeah. Wintertime, forget about it. You won't find me running outside.
Hell no.
You see those dedicated people doing it, but a day like today, 100% would be a day.
Well, it's the Family Guy skit where he's running in the snow and he's like, "Yeah, and it's great to boost my cardio." And you run in the compacts, because it was a real news skit at first, and then Family Guy, of course, ran with it.
Yeah.
Where they're like, "Yeah, it's great, it's compact, it's snow," and then they're like, "All right, thanks so much for the interview," and they take off, and the one person just wipes out. And it's like, everything you just said, I don't believe you anymore.
Yep, completely
because
gone.
you just wiped out in the snow. Oh, I got these great running shoes, and it's so compact, and it's great for running. It's 31 degrees out. Go inside. What are you doing?
Yeah, the people who run in like rain, wind, anything that's like bad weather conditions, like more power to you, but I'll stay inside.
I have always said, if you catch me outdoors running, you should also run. Because something's chasing me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not willingly, I go for long walks. I like a nice walk in the day, put the headphones in, listen to some music, or catch up on the, PHLY Eagles show or whatever the case may be. I like going out for a nice walk. But if you see me running without purpose,
just run.
You need to start running as well.
Don't even look, just run.
Just assume something's wrong. Something or someone is chasing me.
Good to know, Tyler.
Yeah.
If I ever see you doing that, I'm just going to start sprinting with you.
Yep. All right, so that's just about to wrap up today, our PHOI Phillies coverage. Phillies and the Nationals get set to take on a 3-game series at Citizens Bank Park, 6 straight for the Phillies at home. We are in the works to chat with our buddy Jim Salisbury on Wednesday at 1:30, and then on Friday, we hope to chat with some of our friends over at the PHNX Diamondback Show on Friday to get you set for the series against the D-backs over the weekend. And we have a lot to talk about. Tomorrow, we're going to chat about Bryson Stott, because there's one thing that I've noticed with Bryson Stott. You know how I've praised him at the top of the lineup. There's one thing I've noticed with him that I think has really contributed to his success at the top of the lineup. We'll do that. And again, we'll be back live on Wednesday. So we'll check back in with you live on Wednesday. Big thank you to everybody in the chat. K-Red, Molly and Barkley's Life, Ray Schumacher, Filthy McNasty. Who else is in the chat? George, coming from the UK. Safe travels, George. Pat Ryan, and everybody else that was in the chat with us today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And a big thank you to Andrew Frazier for producing today's show. And of course, to Bob Cooney for joining us, as he will each and every Monday. We'll be back with you on Wednesday, beginning at 1 o'clock. We'll talk to you then. I hope you have an incredible Monday and an awesome Tuesday. And we'll be back with you on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Talk to you then, right here on the PHY Phillies podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.